the webinar. So welcome to the, what's we on, the fifth masterclass webinar, I believe. Maybe fourth, maybe sixth. We're in between one of those numbers. As long as we're in the close range, we should be good. But yeah, I feel this is going to be a very good webinar. We're going to talk about psychology. We're going to focus on just everything mindset related before next week going into obviously more charts and the tools that we can use on the charts. Okay, because it's very, very important for us to develop and fine tune the skills outside of trading and outside of the charts and the actual physical side of trading before actually taking a trade, because you want to be sharp, you want to be essentially on point and have everything in order, right? So yeah, we're going to do that today, and we're going to start off quickly by sharing a screen. I'm going to go on the whiteboard now. Like I said, some of you may have seen this before. A lot of our members would have definitely seen this, where we talk about psychology. Some of you may have missed it because it was a webinar that was probably from one of the first webinars we did as part of the program. And I'm going to talk about it today. So I actually did it not long ago, actually, on one, I think it was one of the Hit Squad webinars. Some of you may have seen me post a little snippet of it on my Instagram story. But let's see where we're at. So when it comes to psychology, why is it important? What is it about the market that sort of plays on our mindset and our psychology, right? Now, if we were to talk about what it is that affects our psychology, a big portion of that heightened state is down to the money that's in play, the fluctuations in our profit or loss, right? Yeah, that's why a lot of people you'll hear talk about gambling mindset within trading, because if you don't have that in control, essentially your mindset can turn to that gambling mindset. Because it's very important to have a strict system in place, and that's why we've obviously done masterclass on trading plan. That's why we've done a masterclass on structure, on momentum, on how to read momentum, right, and on risk management. Because all those things need to be on point for you to then have an edge in the market and to then profit from the market, right? It's not just all about the technical or fundamental. It's about the overall foundation of trading. And then it's also about, obviously, how you will then put that all into play, using a strong mindset. Yeah. Isn't it? But yeah, so when we talk about psychology, one second. Sorry about that. So I'm going to talk about psychology. To me, psychology is probably the most important thing in the market. Because like I said, anyone can learn technical analysis, right? Anyone can learn how to use a Fibonacci, draw a trend line, read a couple candlestick patterns. Anyone can do that, anyone. And even actually, if you think about it, a young person, you could just show a young person that, and that's what it is, right? And they can learn and understand the concepts. Same with fundamentals. It's just learning what the fundamentals mean, how it drives the market, how it moves the market, right? But not everyone can master their mindset. Not everyone is ready to put in work and ask themselves the necessary questions to get to the right answers, right? And the reason why it's very difficult is because what I may need to work on my psychology as an individual is going to be very different to how, say, Yusuf thinks, or Lucas thinks, or Freddie thinks, right? It's going to be very different. But, however, that does not mean that we can't talk about it today and learn and take some value from it, right? And that's what we're going to do right now. Okay, so some of you would have seen this diagram before, the triangle, right? I make the joke that when I draw it out, people are going to think pyramid scheme and start running, start jumping off the call. But I think I've made that joke like 50 times now. So most of you who have heard it aren't laughing anymore. So. But it's all good. So I'm going to just draw it out here. Okay. And like I said, I've done this before. So if you have seen this before, don't worry. I'm going to try and go into a bit more detail, which I did on a different webinar. I think, I don't know how long ago now. I've got some notes written down here. So we're going to go through that. As you can see, we're just going to do that there. Okay. Now, we're going to write out quickly at the top here, balance. You could say peace, You could say love, that sort of thing. And on this side over here, we're going to be talking about positivity, positive, and over here, obviously, negative. Please excuse if I do have bad handwriting, not handwriting, bloody hell. If I have bad spelling, because I'm just a bad speller. That's simple as that. If I don't have autocorrect, half of you wouldn't get good messages, I'll tell you now. And then my captions would look terrible. But yeah. So essentially this is the pendulum, right? This is a diagram showing what happens in the average mind. So down here at the bottom, this is the masses. Oh, damn, accidentally. So down here is the masses, okay? The bottom level. Now, why is that the masses? And what I mean by the masses is your everyday people, you know, your average Joe, as they say, right? And what's happening with those people is that they are thinking, you know, when they're feeling positive, so maybe they just got paid, they're feeling fantastic, right? Ultra fantastic as well. And they don't think of any negatives. They're not thinking about their bills. They're not thinking about anything else. They're just thinking, I just got paid, right? Flip side though, on the negative, when they're thinking negatively, that's all they're thinking about. They're not seeing any positive side. They're feeling very depressed, feeling very down, right? Not seeing the equal opposite side that's over here, right? So we can see down here, right? That's what's happening. They're constantly going through positive and negative cycles. And this is what the average trader does, right? The average trader, that trader who's losing constantly or break even constantly, they're the ones who are constantly going through this and not putting any work in, not doing anything extra, just constantly going from positive to negative, okay? Constantly. There's no progress and there's no changes in that because they are not working on trying to identify the opposite or equal side to the argument or to that particular circumstance, right? It's called the law of polarity, right? The law of polarity says there's a polar opposite for every equal reaction, or for every reaction, there's an opposite and equal reaction, right? So to explain that, I'll give an example of that. There's night and day, right? Complete opposite. Without night, there wouldn't be day, right? Because the truth is, if there was no night, we wouldn't appreciate, obviously, day, right? We wouldn't appreciate the light. We wouldn't appreciate, all that comes with it, right? Same on the flip side. If there was no day, we wouldn't appreciate night. We wouldn't appreciate the darkness, right? Same with happiness and sadness, right? If we were never happy, we wouldn't. If we were never happy, we wouldn't know what sad is, right? Sadness is only felt because we know what happiness feels like, right? So there's always an equal opposite side to everything. So that's why when we're in the markets, and we're going to specifically talk about trading with this example. However, this example goes across everything, right? It could be business, it could be your diet, your training, it could be just relationships, it could be anything. We're going to specifically talk about trading. So why do we feel positive within trading, do you think? Right? So I'm going to make a little list on this right-hand side over here of reasons why. So we'll start with obviously profit, right? When we make profit. Okay, sorry, let me put this in front of me because I wrote this down a while ago. Profit, right? And then obviously greed. Oh, sorry. That's what the sort of feeling that we get on this side as well. Greed. All right. We'll come back down again. Overconfidence on this side. Overconfidence, yeah. Euphoria, as they say. Yeah, I can't spell that, so I'm going to leave that. Excitement. Okay, that might be spelled wrong as well. You feel unbeatable, right? When you're trading. I bet someone spelled it in the chat. Let's check. Euphoria. Thank you. I'll put it over here. Perfect. Unbeatable, good energy, high energy when you're on this side. You probably sleep well as well. When you're feeling positive and feeling good, you're happy, obviously, at the end of the day. You begin probably to stretch your targets on your trades, right? When you're feeling good and you're feeling amazing, you probably start to over risk because you just made some profits. You start to not stick to the plan, which is a very important one. So remember that one. What does that say? Start planning, what purchases and stuff. So I'll just start planning shit. And unbeatable, I think we've done that one already, yeah. So then on the negative side, I'm just going to write the list down first and we're going to break it down of why it's important. So, right, On the negative side, obviously, we've got the opposite, loss. We've already got negative, fear of loss, right? So the opposite of greed, fear of loss. Feeling defeated rather than obviously overconfident. Euphoria. So on the flip side of that is shame/anger. Yeah. Stress instead of excitement. Tension. Obviously, bad sleep then. That comes with that. I've had that before. I know that. Find a new person. So instead of like, happy, etc., you're finding a new person or strategy, right, to follow. You feel like giving up. Start to revenge trade. You start to increase risk as well. So that you notice how that's pretty similar, increasing risk and over risk on both sides. So these are the ones that are common. Not sticking to the plan. Suicidal thoughts. Yeah, that's true. And then obviously I should give up, right? Okay. So taking a look at this, let me just bring this down slightly. Okay. So what am I highlighting here? Let me break this down a little bit. So when we're feeling positive, especially when we're talking about trading, so we're over on this side over here, right? We've just, sorry. Here we go. So we started off balanced and we've won, say a few trades that week, had a good week, maybe banked 4 or 5%, right? We're feeling really positive. We're feeling really good. I'm messaging my mentor saying, just had a really good week. I'm feeling great. I'm messaging my friends. I'm telling my family I'm planning, and this is where this comes in. So obviously I'm planning what I'm going to buy, all those things I've wanted to buy, my Rolex, the car, the holiday, whatever it may be. I'm just already planning all the things I'm going to buy just because I've just made 4%, or 5%, right? Or had 4 or 5 winning trades. Okay. So that's one thing. I'm feeling super happy. I start to feel a bit of greed because now I'm like, I've just made 4 or 5%. You know what? I want to make, another 5-10% now, straight away. Okay. So, and then I feel overconfident as well. I'm not thinking about any of the losses I've ever made. I just start feeling like, hey, I can do this. I've just made 4 or 5%. I can do this week in, week out now. Feeling obviously excitement, which is okay, to be fair, in a small degree. Feeling excitement because I'm finally winning. I feel I've done something good in the market. Unbeatable. Now that's an interesting one. So now that I've won these 4 or 5 trades in a row, maybe a few more, maybe a few less, but now I'm feeling unbeatable. Now I'm feeling like I've mastered this now. That's it. Now I can just see it and I can do well. And, this is going to work for me. Right? Okay. High energy. I'm feeling obviously that energy, that euphoria as well that we had before, that word. Yeah. And then sleeping well. I'm starting to sleep well as well because I'm thinking I just banked 4 or 5%. Cool. I'm super happy. Obviously, I start stretching targets now because now I'm thinking, okay, I've mastered this now. Now I can go for 500-600 pips. Why am I just settling for 100 pips, right? Over risk. So now that I'm winning, I think, okay, now let me, instead of risk 1%, let me risk 3% on a trade. Let me just risk 5%. Let me just over leverage. Because obviously this is a guaranteed trade. I'm going to win this. I feel so great. Nothing can go wrong. Not stick to the plan, right? Now that I've just won the trade, why do I need to stick to the plan? Even though the plan made those winning trades happen, now I know what I'm doing. Let me just freestyle my trading. I don't need to follow a strict set of system. I know the system. It's in my head, right? And yeah, start planning stuff. And that's what we're talking about. I'm going to now go buy my all the things I wanted. I'm going to treat all my family, and I'm going to do everything I ever wanted as well. Stop reading our minds. But the funny thing is, Yusuf, is not reading the minds. Why? Because it's the same as me. I've been through all these feelings. I used to be that. I don't know, me of all people used to be that person who would jump from one to the other, right? One to the other. I'll be, as soon as I've made one profitable trade, I'll be thinking about exactly what I want to buy. That car. It would always be a car. It used to always be a car anyway, not anymore as such. But it used to always be the car. I'm always thinking, I'm going to go get that X5 I always wanted. I'm always going to go get this or all that. Right. And so it's very normal. It's natural. That's the thing. Don't get me wrong. What I'm talking about here, we're going to go on to the negative side, but I just want to highlight one thing. Everybody starts here. No one's just born up here, right? No one's just born in these segments here. It's impossible. Everyone starts in the same place, right? Because we don't have the education, right? We're not educated in this thing. And this is why I'm trying to pass this on through this masterclass webinar, right? To pass on this information that we all start in the same place. We all start balanced as well. That's the thing. And we all start in the same place, right? Going from positive to negative. And then hopefully through this webinar and through your guys' actions and taking action on what you learn, this will start to happen where you can improve that. Okay, which is fantastic. Sorry, let me just read the chat quickly. So, can relate, single life forever. Who are you talking about? It's always car for me as well. Yeah, guilty. Sorry, am I? But being able to control it. That's true. Yeah, being able to control it is what's actually what we're trying to do here. We're trying to focus on, which is good to see. Okay, so as we go on to the negative side, we're talking about obviously losses. So when we're feeling losses, okay, in the market, yeah, feeling losses in the market, the fear of loss. So instead of greed, now we're fearing the loss that could come, right? We're fearing the losses, so now we're hesitant to place trades. Okay, we're feeling defeated. We're feeling very down. We're feeling almost obviously depressed, essentially. We're feeling shame and anger. You know, we're very stressed. And normally what happens is these things happen hand in hand, right? So normally we may feel one side, so feel really, really good, right? We may have just won 4 or 5%, and then the next week we're feeling all these other things. So the stress, the tension, the internal tension. I was explaining to people, like when you over leverage or have a bad day in the market, you normally feel like this grinding in your head, right? This like where you're just overthinking, you're just constantly thinking about that loss, you just feel down. That's that tension inside. Probably sleep bad as well, right? Because your mind's just overthinking now. You're just thinking such negative thoughts. Find a new personal strategy. That happens a lot to people, right? They lose and they just think it's the strategy. It's the person I've learned from. I have to blame them because I'm not going to blame myself or put hold myself accountable. And that's why so many people jump from strategy to strategy, mentor to mentor, but they're not getting any results because they're not focused on what's really the problem, which is the lack of balance, which is the lack of the mindset, lack of psychology. Okay. Giving up, obviously. I'm sure this happened to me nearly. Before I became profitable, I was actually on the verge of giving up. I kept asking my wife, should I just stop? Like, I've lost so much money. Should I just stop? What's the point? I can't just keep losing money like this. I might as well just stop, right? So I was this close. It was this close, right? This close. So it happens to us all as well. Revenge trading, right? Very normal. And it's probably one of the most common ones, revenge trading. Right? I've just lost a trade. Let me get back into it. That analysis was right. The market just manipulated me. That's one phrase that I think has thrown off a lot of people and causes a lot of problems for a lot of people as well. Manipulation. Everyone blames their stop loss getting hit on. A lot of people, sorry, not everyone, but a lot of people blames their stop loss getting hit on manipulation. The market was manipulated. It wasn't manipulated at all. That is exactly what was meant to happen. You just got stopped out. You just lost a trade. That's all. But these are the little things that are going to help your psychology. Acceptance, right? Increasing risk. So, like as I said, the ones that seem to be universal, both on positive and the negative side, is the increase in risk. So you've just lost. You want to make that money back. Let me over leverage, right? Let me over leverage. What happens? That's in turn. Imagine you over leverage and you revenge trade. That's how people blow accounts. That's how accounts get blown. Okay. Now ask yourself, if you ever blown an account, is that how it happened? Right? Is that how it happened? It probably did. I know it did for me. We should build a trading microchip with electronic shock. It's true. It's true. It might not help though. People just end up getting electrocuted and still losing. They'll fight it. They'll fight the electric shock and then still press the button. But yeah. And then very common one. Okay. So it's interesting on the negative side, not sticking to the plan. Right? Not sticking to the plan. Right? That's normally what happens because you let your emotions take over. You let that heightened state take over. You don't want to stick to your plan. Yeah, let me just take this one trade. Let me just take this one. This one trade is going to get my losses back. It's going to at least make me get to break even, right? And then obviously the last one, I should give up, right? I should give up. I put that twice actually. I just realized. But that's the thought, right? I should give up. But you're not thinking that when you win, right? And the interesting thing is, like, what happens here is that we end up getting blinded when you're going through these emotional swings. You get blinded to the other side. So when you're feeling positive, you can't see the negative side. You're just blinded to it. So a good example of that is when I owned a business. I owned a corner shop, convenience store. Okay, and now before I owned it, all that was going through my head was, I'm going to be my own boss. I'm going to be making loads of money. I don't have to answer to anyone. I'm going to then have another shop. Like, I was just thinking about all these positives, completely ignoring the fact of, now I have to pay employees. I have to manage employees. Now that I'm my own boss, I have to do more hours. I have to do the stock. I have to make sure all these other things that I was just completely blinded to, because all I was looking at was this positive of being able to say I'm an entrepreneur, being able to say I'm a business owner, being able to be my own boss, essentially, right? But I was so blinded to the negatives that when I got into it, I was caught off guard. So the reason why being balanced is so important is that you're accepting and noticing both sides of the argument, both the positive and the negative side, so that then you can make an informed decision, right? And you can act from a state of balance. So when you're within your trading, the reason why it's so powerful is because at the end of the day, you don't want your heightened emotions to be able to dictate your actions and your thought processes. So when you take a loss, for example, you don't want to be able to allow your emotions to take over and tell you to give up, tell you to over leverage, tell you to over risk. Now, don't get me wrong, just because you learn this doesn't mean that you're going to become this master where anything happens in your life and you're just not going to feel anything. That's not the case. We're not going to become numb. We're not machines. That's what makes us human. We have emotions, right? We have these feelings. What it's a case of is how long they last, how much they control you. You're always going to feel them, but how much do they control you? That is the real difference. That is what we're trying to get out here, right? We're trying to get out here that all we're going to do is we're going to feel it in the very moment, and then we're going to let it go. We're going to realize the balanced state that is necessary for us to move forward. So the way we do that is by accepting that, for example, so what our aim is to work on ourselves, be more aware of our emotional state, the thoughts that we're having, the mistakes that we're making during the super positive and the super negative, and how we can develop and build upon that, right? And our goal is to make steps towards being balanced, right? Feeling that peace, that inner peace, and that state of love, as they say, right? Because up here is where, yes, okay, we may lose a trade. So for example, let's say we're up in this area here. We may win a trade, right? Yes, we feel good for a moment. Yeah, we feel good that our analysis played out. We reward ourselves in some way. But what we're not allowing ourselves to do is to start feeling greedy. We're not allowing ourselves to feel overconfident. What we're not allowing ourselves is to think we're unbeatable, right? We can sleep well. We can have good energy. That's fine. So even the interesting thing is, on the positive side of the list, there is positives and negatives to the list. The positives being obviously feeling excited. That's fine. But having good energy, that's fine. Sleeping well, that's fine. Feeling happy, that's fine. But that's it. The rest, if you notice, right? Greed, that's a negative. We'll put a cross, sorry. Overconfidence, that's a negative, right? Stretch targets, that's a negative. Over risk, that's a negative. Not sticking to the plan, negative. And start planning, obviously, what you're buying, a negative. Having a vision board is fine. But start when you profit and you're letting your emotions say, hey, I'm ready to buy this, this, and this. Let me go, make the calls and book the appointments to do it, right? Straight away. That's a negative, right? But you notice even in that list, there's still positive. Sleeping well, that's good. Having high energy, that's good. Feeling excited and happy, that's fine. No problem. There's a difference between excitement and then obviously the overconfidence, right? So that's fine. Same on the flip side, right? Fear of loss, it's bad. It is bad. Because obviously then you start capping yourself. You start not taking trades that you should be taking, right? Feeling defeated, right? Oh, sorry, I put a thingy there, X, right? Shame and anger. This is an interesting one. So you can feel it slightly, and it's not always a negative, because it's good to feel it so that you know that how you don't want to feel, right? But it's still a negative overall, because you start to create bad decisions in that, right? Stress. Of course, you're going to feel stress. You don't want to feel stress, but again, it comes with the territory. Tension, because you don't want to. On this side, to be fair, there's not really going to be any positives, because they are all negatives for a reason, right? So all of these are quite bad. So I'm not going to go through all of them. But the most important ones, I would say, and the interesting ones, are obviously the ones that are universal, right? So the ones that are not sticking to the plan, increasing your risk, right? Not planning shit, sorry. Not sticking to the plan, increasing your risk, right? They're universal. Why? Because in both cases, you may go against your plan and you may increase, obviously, your lot size, right? Start to over leverage. And that's where we see a lot of the mistakes due to those two in particular. But a lot of it comes down to these other feelings, right? Feeling super negative, feeling super positive. So the way to work on it and to try and change that around and turn that around is actually just about being more aware. As I said, being aware of the state of positivity you're in and being aware of the state of negativity you're in and the thought processes that come with it. So each of you will be different, of course, because you're all individuals, right? So each of you will feel, some of you will feel greed, some won't. Some might not have the greed problem, but might have a over risk problem or an overconfidence problem or stretching targets problem, etc. So each of you have an individual differences of what it is to you when you feel positive or negative, and that's why it's important for you all to be able to be more aware. Have a mind like a diary or a journal where you just talk about your thoughts when you win or lose, so you can start to notice which ones are the ones that are happening to you firstly, but then also how that's impacting your trading. So if you notice that you're feeling greedy after you win, what's that doing to your trading? Are you starting to then obviously over trade a bit? Are you going to start? Are you taking trades against your plan? Are you over leveraging? What's that greed doing to your trading? How's that affecting your results? Is it not doing anything to your results? Okay, but more than likely, if you're feeling it and you're feeling it on a very heightened level, then it's probably affecting your results. And that's a chance for you, because you're aware of it, to pull that back and start putting work in to reduce that, so that those results aren't affected by the mindset and the emotions. All right? Just tell me, guys, does that make sense? Do you get what I'm getting at there? If you just want to put it in the chat. Any questions so far? 100% good. Good. Fantastic. 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 Difference between accountability and beating yourself too hard. Sounds a bit wrong. Yeah. Definitely. Cool. I'm glad that helps. Okay. So let me just talk about, okay, so what we're talking about here is, okay, positive, negative, positive, negative. Right? So what's going to be happening? The Christmas tree, the famous one, right? So what's going to happen is, in the beginning, like I said, everyone starts here. Everybody starts here. No one is just born anywhere else. We all start there because we don't have the education. And this is a chance for us to change that. So how do we increase ourselves and work on being more balanced and being mindful about balance? Okay, how do we do that? As I said, firstly, the diary will help. Just being more aware of your thought processes, sorry, and being more aware of the state that you're in will help you to increase. So for example, me, I used to be very emotional. I used to be from one side to the other, especially growing up, one side to the other, one side to the other. And then once I learned about obviously the law of polarity, and I learned about this, positive, negative. Yeah. Then I started to work on it. Then I started to be more aware of my thoughts, because actually it wasn't even to do with trading when I first started to develop this. It was more so just in my relationships, how I would react to people, confrontation as well, how fast I would allow myself to feel anger or, etc. These emotions, how fast would I allow myself to feel them? And obviously the more I was aware of it, the more I was able to clock on, okay, I'm feeling this anger coming, but why am I angry? What's the positive side of it? What's the positive side of what's just happened that I'm not seeing that's going to help me to become balanced, right? So for some example, let's say I've had an argument with my sister, for example, I don't know, and she's saying something, I don't know, trying to think of an example, but say she's said something to me or said no to something, and then I've seen the opposite side, right? Normally I get angry and I'll say something, but I've seen the opposite side of, oh wait, if I, by staying balanced, actually, this may happen later on. It may affect my chances of this happening later on, etc., right? And that's how I slowly just started to work on it, right? And for trading, it's about when you're winning, How are you feeling? What thoughts are you having? Which one are you? Are you feeling greed? Are you feeling overconfident? Are you feeling unbeatable? Which one are you? So as I said, Lucas is going to feel something different to Yusuf. He's going to feel something different to me, different to Freddie, different to Nico, right? We're all going to feel something different, right? So making sure you do the necessary work to notice what your thought processes are. Same on the negative side. When you lose a trade, note down, what is it you're thinking? Am I fearing the loss? Am I fearing the next trade loss? Am I feeling like over risking? Do I have this feeling of over trading, of revenge trading? Do I have this feeling of going against my plan and jumping straight back into the market? If so, why? Right? And if so, what's the opposite side to that? And a big thing to help as well is noticing when you're in that winning state, how it felt to lose, right? So that you can balance yourself, you can humble yourself. So when you have, say, a 4 or 5% win, you need to remember what it was like to be in 4 or 5% drawdown, or even 10% drawdown, right? Because you need to realize in that moment that what got you there wasn't feeling super positive or negative. It wasn't feeling greed or fear of loss that got you there. It was that you were balanced. And like I said, sticking to your plan, right? And having good risk management. And that's why we focused, if you've noticed, on these principles in the start of these masterclasses. And we haven't really done much charts. Because we need to focus on the strong foundation for your trading to then go into, obviously, the chart works and the different tools on the charts. All right. Here we have a question. So, I want to ask, what do you, let's say, hit your monthly target mid-month? What do you do? Stand on the sidelines or take a few days off and then come back? Mine is stretching targets. Okay, cool, Elliot. Thanks for being honest. I find when I set monthly targets, I have a bad month. But when I don't have a target, I've set a decent month. Is this normal? It happens. It happens because what can happen is you start trying to chase those targets. Because again, you're not being balanced, right? If you're balanced and just say, okay, I've set myself a target, but I'm just going to trade accordingly. And if I hit that target, fantastic. I'm not trying to force it. I'm not saying you are forcing it, but that's normally what happens if we're getting a bad month if I've set a target. Now, to answer your question, CeeLo, if you set a monthly target and you hit it mid-month, no problem, right? No problem. If you see that's happening often, then it's time to increase your targets, right? But if it's happened just once, it's no problem. As you say, take a few steps back or just continue to trade as long as you're taking trades that fit your plan, right? As long as you're sticking to your plan, it's no problem. But if you are happy with your profits, step away. No problem at all, right? No problem at all. Remember that. If you've had, say if you set a target, I don't know, 10% for the month, and you hit that in the first week, then it's your decision to decide, how am I feeling? Because what may happen is you hit your target and you feel super positive. You start to feel greedy and overconfident because you've done it so fast. And if you notice that, then definitely step away. Definitely step away. As Yusuf has said, too much expectations can backfire. And that's where the positivity side, right? If you have a strong expectation and you hit, let's say you actually hit the goal and that expectation's been met, but faster than you expected. So then what happens? Your mindset instantly starts thinking, I'm a master, right? These markets are nothing. I've just hit my monthly target in 3 days, right? Let me up the lot size. I'm going to flip this account, right? That's the thought process. And what happens is 3 days after that, the account's gone. And suddenly you're fearing loss, you're stressed, you feel like giving up, right? And it's a common emotional swing that happens within the market, unfortunately. But this is where we're working on hopefully turning that around. So an interesting thing that we will touch on, though, is at each point, you've seen me talk about this before, is time horizons, right? What does that mean, time horizon? That basically means, it's not the neatest, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, it's not the neatest, but essentially what we're getting at is as you become more balanced, right, you're thinking longer term. Hello? Who is that? We got a randomer. Freddie's you? No? Someone else? Don't know who it is. We're good. Cool. But what I was getting at was the time horizon. So down here, what do the masses do, right? Think about it. What do some of us do in here, right? We think only day to day. When we're thinking about life and letting stresses get to us and letting life get to us and letting our emotions, get the better of us, it's probably because we're thinking day to day, week to week, right? So maybe even month to month. What do they say about most people? They live paycheck to paycheck, right? They live weekend to weekend, right? And that's why they're called the masses, because they're always just thinking on that scale. They're always just thinking about just the shortest time frame, right? So as you sort of remove yourself from the masses and become a master of yourself, so self-mastery, right? And you start to become more balanced, you're thinking longer term. You're thinking about, obviously, more into the future. So it may be month to month to begin with, but then you may be thinking, quarterly. You may be then thinking yearly. You may be thinking 5 years, maybe thinking 10 years, maybe thinking 25, 50 years, 100 years, maybe even into 1,000 years. And that's a very interesting thing. Like, I'll say 1,000 years, right? And I remember where I learned this from. Like, I did the same thing. I was thinking 1,000 years. Why am I going to plan 1,000 years into the future? I'm not going to be here. I'm going to be long gone, right? Long gone, 1,000 years. But then it's about your legacy. How can you plan a legacy, or how can you have a legacy if you haven't planned for it? How can you have a legacy if you haven't, at least put in the groundwork to what you want it to be, right? Do you think there's people in the world who have legacies and are remembered for their knowledge or wisdom or whatever it is that they're known for? Do you think they didn't plan for that and that was just luck? No, they planned it. It's like Nikola Tesla. He may not have planned to be as big as he was, but due to his intention of what he was building, he left a legacy. Same with people like Plato, for example, or Marcus Aurelius, right? The wisdom and the knowledge left behind, right? It comes down to having that plan, having that vision of higher vision, right? Yeah. So to be more balanced as well, think long term. So, for example, when I was losing money, I wasn't thinking about 5 years from now. I was thinking right now. I was thinking what profit I want to make right now. What profit do I want to make today? I wasn't thinking about next week, next month, this quarter, next year, 10 years from now. I'm not thinking about that at all. I was thinking about right now, this second. And so when I was making decisions, just thinking about this second, without any plans for the future, without thinking about the future, or broadening my time horizons, obviously I'm going to feel stressed out when I lose a trade, because I'm just thinking right now. I think I've just lost this damn trade. I'm just thinking about this in particular trade right now. But think about the grand scheme of things. How many trades do you think you're going to take over the next 10 years? How many trades do you think you'll lose over the next 10 years? How many do you think you'll win over the next 10 years? Just for example, right? So, for example, losing, say, £100 right now in this second could be a lot, could be everything to you. What are you thinking? What's your goal for 100 years from now? You want to have 10 million? How can you, if you let £100 mess with you right now, how are you ever going to have 10 million? Where your losses are going to be, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, right? Broaden your time horizon. If like me having an argument with my wife right now, I'm going to let myself get all heightened and stressed, right, in this moment. Well, even just a week from now, like the married people in the Zoom will tell you, Yusuf will be able to tell you, right? You have an argument right now, a week from now, like it's all gone. But in the moment, you feel like, oh my God, this is absolutely sucks, etc., etc. It's quick stop loss. Oh, sorry, Freddie, I just saw you a question there. What was the mental trigger for you to go from losing money to earning it? I will get onto that in a second. No problem. Absolutely, yeah. But it's true though, right? If you're thinking right now, you will it'll ruin your relationship even more, because you just keep thinking about now. You're thinking about how you feel right now, but probably even if you just, as the saying goes, sleep on it, right? Sleep on it, and then you probably feel better. It's like when you have a lack of sleep, or you haven't eaten, you feel different, right? If you speak or make decisions in those moments, it's going to be different from when you've slept well and you've eaten well. Yeah. Don't know what that is. Yeah, no problem. What were we going to say? Freddie, you said, what was the mental trigger for you to go from losing money to earning it? The mental trigger was the balance, right? That's why I talk about this a lot. So trying, as I said, putting work into being aware of my mental state, of the emotional swing, of where I was at, how I was reacting to winning trades, how I was reacting to losing trades. Having the strict plan. So if anything, all the webinars we've done on the masterclass side of things so far, they're the things that help me to become profitable. And that's why I focused on them first. And you'll notice that there's not only structure, and the momentum was on the charts. to just try and highlight that. Otherwise, it was all off charts and using this whiteboard and just talking. Another mental shift was, for me, my problems were greed. So I had to remove the greed. Mine was fear of loss at one point, due to the greed before. So had to remove the fear of loss. Mine was overconfidence, start planning stuff, not sticking to the plan, over risking. They were mine, right? On the left side, on the losing side, mine was fear of loss, defeated, shame and anger, stress, tension, all of them pretty much, except for jumping from person to person in strategy. That's the one thing I haven't done before, luckily. But the rest of them, I've done all the rest. And as I said, I should give up. So, for example, I lost £40,000 before becoming profitable. And when I did become profitable, I made £32,000, £32,000, right? So you can see how it took about was it 2.5, 3 years of losing to get to 40,000. It took about 6 months to do the 32 grand, right? So it's not a case of, it's going to say you've lost, I don't know, for some of you might have lost this amount, but let's say you've lost 10,000 so far in 2 years, just for example. It doesn't mean it's going to take you 2 years to make 10,000 again. That doesn't have to be the case. What it does mean, though, is if you don't make any changes whatsoever to how you lost that 10,000, in the next 2 years, you're going to probably lose 10,000, if not more. You're going to keep losing if you don't make any changes. If you start to make changes, however, say you dedicate 3 months of your life because you then sit down and you're more aware of your mental state, you're more aware of how much into the future you're seeing, right, and planning for, and you then dedicate 3 to 6 months towards that vision and that goal, and then within that 3 to 6 months, you have a chance to make that 10,000 back, right? So it could take 2 years to lose 10,000, 3 to 6 months of dedicated work to make it back, right? As I think Marco says a lot, nothing changes if nothing changes, right? If you don't make any necessary changes, nothing will change. Simple as that, right? And it's very, very important to remember that and to put that as a sort of as an important part of your trading, right? To constantly develop and refine where you're going wrong. Because the most important thing of trading is holding yourself accountable, right? Don't get me wrong. Your mentor is going to always hold you accountable, right, as well. But the best results will come from when you hold yourself accountable. When you decide to recognize where you're going wrong, and secondly, accepting where you're going wrong. Because acceptance is a big thing. If you don't accept where you're making mistakes and you don't accept where you can improve, how are you ever going to get over it? How are you ever going to actually overcome that barrier that's in front of you? Right? It's like trying to run into a brick wall. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. You're just going to hurt yourself. You're just going to get frustrated. It's not going to work. When you learn to overcome the wall and get over that barrier, then you progress. You get to the next one. Because there's never a case where you just get over, say, the few obstacles in your way and there's never an obstacle again, right? You jump over those hurdles, you get over those obstacles, you go on to the next one. There's always going to be more work to be done. There's always going to be refinement. There's always going to be, things to improve upon. Right? That will never change. There'll never be a point where we've mastered life and we don't need to make any changes to our lives, right? Yeah, cool. Yeah, cool. Let's see. Hey, Riz, I've been having problems about sleep since I'm in Venezuela. My working hours are between 1 a.m. to 9 to 10 a.m. Do you recommend something in particular to work this out? It's a hard one because you're working nights, right? So it's something that's kind of unavoidable. The only thing I could recommend is get a new job, the way you can work during the day, unfortunately. That is a tough one. The most important thing that might help is, trying to work a routine with your trading around your job so that you can then get efficient sleep in. I'm trying to think Venezuela time, what obviously 1 a.m. to 9 to 10 a.m. would be. I'm guessing that could be in that London session, potentially could be happening around there. I'm not sure. That one would be a case where you recognize why that's happening to you. All right. What can be done about it? That's the most important thing. Ask yourself that question. What can I do to change or improve my current situation? Because if you don't ask yourself and work out an answer, because the only way you find an answer, right, is by asking the question. You don't just randomly work something out, right? You have to ask yourself the question first and then actually work out, okay, here's the answer to the question. You don't get the answer, then have to work out the question, right? But I'm sorry if I don't have the answer for that question, just because I'm not sure what would be best for it. Sasha, how do you recognize victim mentality in trading? I'd say when that word I mentioned earlier, manipulation. If you're blaming things on manipulation, the market stop hunt, that's another one, right? That's always a good one. No worries, guys. Everyone who's having to leave, that's no problem. The recording should be up later tonight, if not tomorrow. But stop hunt's another one. When people constantly say, "Oh, I got stop hunted," they went for my hunt, they went for my stop loss, or market manipulation took me out. These are all lies. No one manipulating the market to take you out. No one's tried to hunt your stop loss, right? No one's thinking about you, right? Right? Simple as that. No one's thinking about you, right? My one lot trade. Yeah, it's all about accepting where you went wrong. It's like me, when I lose a trade, sometimes I still have that little feeling of they took me, because sometimes I get stopped out and goes in my direction literally straight away, like straight to where I wanted it to go to, even towards my take profit. And even I still feel to this day like sometimes like they motherfucking did it. They did that to me, right? But it's not the case. It's just I was wrong. I was maybe trying to be too accurate, or I didn't have the right stop loss, or I entered in the wrong place, or I wasn't being patient enough. So there's still always refinement, right? If that happens to me, I see where I went wrong, stop loss too tight. It's exactly, right? Exactly. When these things happen, it's about where can I hold myself accountable? Where was my mistake? That is where the difference will happen, and that's where the changes will happen, right? So if you're losing right now, the best thing you can possibly do is, why am I losing? Where can I change? Where can I improve? What is it I am not doing? Notice how the language is saying I, me, right? It's me. You're holding yourself accountable. You're not saying, what did the market do? What did the institutions do? What did so-and-so do and so-and-so do? Or, this person confused me. That's why following signals is bad, or following someone else's analysis is bad, because it allows you to not hold yourself accountable. It allows you to say, Samir sent me a signal whilst he was driving, right? Samir sent me a signal and I took that signal, right? But he's confused. He's like, why does he
hello, Riz.
Yeah.
I've actually got something to add to what you was just saying just there.
No, go ahead, man.
I always say to my fiance, right? Obviously, we create our own destiny.
Yeah.
I always say to my fiance, if somebody was to run up to me in the street and punch me in the face, it would be my own fault that I didn't see them coming.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like,
I like that.
I used to do that and blame the market a lot for the stop hunts, but I'm starting to get better at it now. So,
So that's like the market comes to punch you in the face.
They do. They punch you in the face very hard. It's a lot of punches.
They're Mike Tyson. The market is Mike Tyson.
Yeah, a lot of punches, man. But yeah, I'm home now, so I'm gonna go in my office and listen to the rest of the webinar.
No worries. We're near the end now. To be fair, it's the Q&A time. So any questions, by all means, throw them in.
Cool.
Someone said Samir doesn't look like the guy. Look like a guy who can take a punch quietly.
I've taken a lot of punches, and I give as hard as I can take. So I'll leave it at that anyway, because
they were recorded, mate. You're going on YouTube.
Yeah, I know. I'll leave it at that.
No worries, man. But yeah, any questions on what we've gone over today? No worries. Oh, what's up? Let's talk. Yeah, anyone? No questions? Nothing? Do you think it's necessary to reach rock bottom? I don't think it's necessary. Don't get me wrong, don't look for it. don't go searching for rock bottom. That's not a good idea. You never know what could happen. You never know what could happen when you reach there. However, I think it's important to recognize the negative times, the bad times. Because the truth is, no one, it's like Jeff Bezos, like what's his name, Elon Musk, like Bill Gates, like Joe Rogan, like all these successful people, Jay-Z, all these people, Ray Dalio, everyone. None of them just had a one-directional journey where they just went straight to the top and they became billionaires and that was it. No one did that. A lot of them nearly went broke. Like Elon Musk nearly went broke in the last financial crash. He nearly literally lost it all, right? Even what's his name, Richard Branson, great idea, great example. He went bankrupt a crazy amount of times before he came up with Virgin, right? So failure is part of the journey. Don't go looking for failure. But when you are experiencing failure or so-called failure, I like to do this a lot because failure doesn't exist. The only way you truly fail is when you actually decide to give up. When you actually decide enough to I can't handle this no more. That is when it is classed as a failure because you've allowed it to get the better of you. You've allowed the negative side to defeat you and to make you decide to not chase anymore, right? The most important thing you can do at rock bottom or in failure is to recognize the lessons of it. So rock bottom for me, before I decided quitting, the lesson was I had to make the changes happen. All the things that I knew I needed to change. I knew I needed to stick to a trading plan. I knew I needed to, have proper risk management. I knew all of these things, but I was not doing them. So then I had to decide at rock bottom to do them, to just do the work as our famous Gloria says. And just to update everyone actually on Gloria, Gloria is now a 200K trader, officially as of today, due to the hard work and the progress she has been making. We're very, very happy with her, and huge congratulations to Gloria. She's been doing a lot of hard work in silence. And to be fair, just as a great example of what's possible, she works at a family business and works crazy, 13, 14 hours a day, probably sleeps 4 hours a night. What else? As well as obviously doing trading and crypto trading as well. And when she joined the program, that was the first time she ever traded Forex. So if someone like that has the time to put into trading, to develop, and it wasn't a one-directional journey either, she had a large drawdown, not large, but like 10%, 12% around that figure before becoming profitable and finding her edge. If she can do it, so can all of us, right? So can all of us. Right. And plus, if anything, it's much harder for her because she's in California. So the London session's like 2 a.m. in the morning or something crazy. Right. So, we can all do it. Right. And if she was, I don't know if she's here right now, maybe not. But if she was, I'm sure she would just say, do the work. Yeah. Do the work. Right. That is the famous line. I love it. Special shout out to Bryce, by the way. Bryce has actually done in the last month roughly 13-14%. Coming back from drawdown as well of roughly 10-12%. So again, another indication of being balanced, another indication of following a plan and a strict system and not allowing yourself to feel the fear of loss or greed, etc. And now sitting in profit on the account. So well done, Bryce. I'm very, very proud of you as well. I'm already up 5% this month again. Fantastic, Bryce. Fantastic. I'm so glad to hear it. All right, so glad to hear it. And anyone who's in drawdown right now, anyone who's drinking some Bryce, anyone who's in drawdown right now or is in break even or just isn't feeling too good about your trading, let those be examples to you, right? Let those be examples to you because they are no different to you. They did not do anything special to you. They do not get any special treatment to you either. It's not like Astro did anything extra for them or anything like that, right? So use that as motivation to realize no matter where you are in your trading balance, in your mindset, there's always room to improve. Like even me, for example, I did 62% last month. No worries, that's fantastic, right? But this month so far, it's been almost a bad time last week, and I haven't really placed too many trades today. But there hasn't been a good time so far. But no problem because it's learning experience for me, right? I could do 62% last month, sorry, and let that get me overconfident and let that get me feeling greedy, etc., and unbeatable, and then blow my whole account this month, right? If I let it. In the past, that would have happened. In the past, but I have to grow, and we don't live in the past anymore, right? We're in the present, but we're aiming for the future, right? And the only way you make your future is by what you do in the present. So what I would say to you as a closing sort of statement would be to Let me just check. I remember some people asking questions. So 1 second. I don't want to close statement and then just end it without answering the questions. Reach rock bottom. What do you do after a week of losing streak? What I do is I will go through the trades and work out why I lost to begin with. Right? Why did I lose? What was the actual reason? So that I can look out for that and learn from that experience. That's what I would do first. Secondly, I would try to remain balanced. I would step away from the market and I would not come back until I feel confident again and I feel ready and I feel balanced and I feel like I'm not going to trade from emotion. Okay. Most TP doesn't get hit. Why is it? So I remember taking GA on heads and shoulders. I can't answer that question. I don't know why. I don't know when you place that trade. Yeah. But closing statement wise, I basically forgot what I was going to say. Closing statement. I literally forgot. What I was going to say was literally like, look, the past is the past. The past has brought us to where we are now. All of us see what we want to become, right? All of us see, where we want to get to, right? So, if we can all see that person we want to become, so such as the person, trading $1 million, such as the person who has all the businesses, the property, the nice things. If we can see that person, what are they doing? What is it they're doing? Right. So for me, whenever I think of myself as a trader, as an entrepreneur, and as someone who's successful, I would always see someone who was organized, someone who was happy and balanced, right? Someone who was, had high energy, someone who was healthy. I would see all these things. So what does that mean I need to do now in the present moment? It means I need to start putting into action all of those things now. Because what we do now makes the future. That person won't be able to be, healthy or what did I say, organized or any of these other things if I'm not doing it right now. They wouldn't exist if I don't do it right now. So closing statement would be, focus on who you want to become now in the present moment. Set longer term goals. Set your 10-year goals, your 100-year goals, your 50-year goals. Work out what you want your legacy to be and then reverse engineer it so that you're working out the steps to get there. Right? Work out your weekly goals. And it doesn't mean this isn't about, financial amounts on your trading account. That can be included. This is about you as an individual, right? What do you need to do? How much chart time do you need to do per week or per month or per day? How much time do you need to put into self-development? How much time do you need to just relax as well? That's important. How much time do you need to put into chilling and letting your mind rest away from charts, right? Away from maybe family, maybe away from friends, maybe just alone. Right? There's so much that goes into being a full-time trader and being a successful person or being a master of yourself. There's so much that goes into it. It's not as simple as just do this, do that, just put in time on the charts, just learn about GBP, JPY, or this fundamental. It's not about that. It's about you as an individual, right? Learn to master yourself as an individual. Learn to master your mind, this thing in between here, because this is what's probably affecting a lot of not only your results in trading, but just in general, your relationships, your day-to-day work, your day-to-day life. A lot of it comes from here. Because I want everyone, all of you in here should hopefully be waking up happy every single day, right? Feeling ready for the day. And if you're not, then you 100% know something's off balance in here that's causing that. And you need to find the balance again so that you can be waking up every day ready to, ready for that next goal, ready for whatever target or thing that you want to achieve, right? So I hope that was a good closing statement. I hope. There was one question that's there at the end though. So how many losses do you accept per week? Personally, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't have a number on it. For me, some should have a number on it. Some shouldn't. For me, because of my style of trading, there are sometimes it could be one trade a week. Sometimes it could be 100 trades. Right? I don't know. I've never really taken 100 trades, as far as I know. But it's a possibility, right? So I don't really have one. However, what I would accept is that you work out what is your your sort of threshold for risk. Are you an aggressive trader? So you probably have a bit more of a threshold for losing 3-4%, say, in a week, or maybe a day or a month, whatever it is for you. And then on the flip side, are you more conservative? If you are, you probably don't want to be risking losing 2-3% in a week, right? You might want to be losing less. Yeah. So again, it's very individual, very, very individual. Okay. No worries. Any final questions before we call it a day? I really enjoyed this webinar though. I think it was a good one. I think got some good value out there. I hope. Feel free though, if you did get value from it, I'd really appreciate it if you want to shout it out on your story and tag me in it. that would be that'd be very nice of you. I'd very much appreciate it if you got only if you got value though. I would never say do it if you didn't get value, but I'm pretty sure a lot of you did. So definitely needed this. Thanks. That's good. Thanks. I'm glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. Fantastic. No worries. Okay. Can you give us your Instagram? My Instagram is Riz_Iqbal. So RIZ_IQ, B for Bravo, A for Alpha, L for Lima. I'll put it in the chat for you in case you are not following me already. No worries at all. No worries at all. But yeah, next week we will try and go into, because I think we've covered everything now. So we're going to try and go into, we're going to go into Fibonacci, I think, first, unless someone else has obviously a topic in mind. Perfect. No worries, everyone. Have a good day. Take care. It was an absolute pleasure, and we'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Thank you.